I wish child drag queens were a phenomenon that didn't exist. It's just super uncomfortable. You've got scantily clad 11-year-olds doing shows in public libraries for an audience full of pedophiles. If you have paid money to come to a show, actually fuck the money, if you have come to a show to watch little boys wear dresses and twerk, have you ever thought about what kind of person you might be? I love that it's happening in libraries, just the final nail in the coffin of contemporary literature, of physical knowledge. You've got a little kid who's named himself Queen Lactatia doing booty claps in front of John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. Why come to a library for Great Expectations by Charles Dickens when you can have your expectations ruined forever watching a trio of half-naked drag kids lip-sync to a Destiny's Child song while the show host feverishly masturbates in the corner? I never want to meet the parents of these children. Absolute failures. Some of these kids are dancing in strip clubs while crowds of adults throw money at them. Some of these kids are posing with nude adult drag queens in photo shoots. One of those library shows was organized by someone who turned out to be a pedophile who was later arrested. Imagine that! The parent rationale is such nonsense. One of them was interviewed like, what kind of parents would we be if we didn't let our child fully express himself the way he wants to? Responsible. Responsible parents. Your kid knows nothing. You don't defer to your child on how you should parent your child. Hey, you've been here 6 years. You seem like you've pretty much got it figured out. We're just gonna step back and let you blossom with no direction at all. Hope you miraculously turn out all right. Watch his child pose with naked adults. I think we did a good job. This is a burgeoning industry, getting all sorts of media attention as if it's some expression of freedom, which it is, unfortunately. Freedom to expose yourself to pedophiles while pretending it's an LGBT thing. It's not. Why would any LGBT-aligned person support this? It's okay to sexualize children as long as they're being sorta gay about it. It's okay to have them doing strip teases for adults as long as they tweet about Pride Month and climate change. It's okay to throw them in a swamp full of pedophile piranhas and let them try their best to dodge sexual abuse as long as it advances the conversation. Congratulations, parents, your precious baby is a prepubescent cock tease. You fucking proud of yourselves? The whole thing makes me sick. And don't think I don't apply these same standards to anybody who enrolls their dolled-up predator bait in a hetero child beauty pageant situation. Before some of you argue there's a double standard, there isn't. Regular kid beauty pageants are stigmatized to hell and back too, as they should be, for the exact same reasons as the drag queen bullshit. It's fake, sexualized garbage that exploits children and panders to pedos. Appreciate my consistency. Moving on, Black Mirror released a whole 3 episodes for its Season 5 debut, and one of them presented a question that was interesting enough for me to want to explore here. Spoilers, I guess, but also Black Mirror has always struck me as the type of show you'd rather hear someone talk about than actually watch anyway. This one is about a VR fighting game called Striking Vipers X. I guess I'm just going to summarize the episode and talk about the themes along the way. So first, we have Anthony Mackie, the actor who plays the flying robot suit that isn't Iron Man in The Avengers. I honestly don't even know that character's name. It's not Don Cheadle in War Machine, it's the other one that has like mechanical owl wings or something. Anyway, it's not important. So in the beginning, he shares an apartment with his friend Carl, who is played by the guy who plays Black Manta in Aquaman. A real super duo, if you ask me. Marvel and DC sharing an apartment. What sorts of contestable shenanigans could go down? Plenty. They show a scene where the two stay up all night playing this fighting game called Striking Vipers, which is basically a ripoff of like Street Fighter or Tekken. It's something they do a lot, and it's a real bonding experience and shows how close they are. Fast forward 10 years. Anthony Mackie is married with a kid and trying to have another. It's his birthday, and they're having a barbecue where he struggles to connect with the other nerdy, emasculated black neighbor dads in glasses that are being introduced to him. It's all the trappings of an upper-class nuclear family life. Then Carl comes over, who Anthony Mackie hasn't seen in a year, and gives him a pretty extravagant gift, all things considered. The newest Striking Vipers game, called Striking Vipers X, and the VR system it needs in order to be played. Later that night, they get on voice chat, and Carl tells him how to set up the VR stuff. In this show, it's a little metal ball or disc thing you just attach to your temple, like the side of your head. He puts it on, and when it activates, it completely shuts off his outside awareness and bodily functions and transports him to this 100% immersive VR fighting game stage, where he picks his character, and he is that character. He plays as Lance. your garden variety Street Fighter Ryu type of fighter, and Carl picks Roxy, this blonde female counterpart who's played by the Asian chick with the feelers in Guardians of the Galaxy. They got a ton of superhero actors for this. So Anthony Mackie is inside the body of Lance, and can feel all things Lance would feel in a fighting game scenario. And to show him this, Carl, who is in this chick Roxy's body, proceeds to beat the shit out of him for a little bit with stylish fighting game moves that would be impossible in real life. The weird part comes when they start to roll around on the ground a bit, and then suddenly Roxy starts making out with Lance, because I guess the developers programmed sex into this game. Things turn awkward and they stop and try to play it off, and then exit the game. Later, they're both like, hey man, I was drunk, what happened was weird, let's forget about it, and then the next night they're back on the game. Playing the same characters, the fight starts, and as they inch closer to each other, they literally just run up to each other and make out again, and then they fuck hella. Now you have to think about how this all had to be programmed by the developers. Like, they knew they were making a game where sex was entirely possible, and they were still able to market it as a fighting game. Unless it's just like a false flag where it's one of those, are you in the know type of things? But based on later dialogue, it seems like everyone uses the game for that purpose, and you can even have sex with AI opponents who just kind of lie there like dolls when you're doing it. Putting the existential crisis of this game aside, though, the things I want to explore are the things this episode barely explores. Because these two characters meeting in VR to get it on becomes a regular occurrence, and it starts to affect Anthony Mackie's home life. He's trying to have another kid, right? But now he's always making excuses about being tired and can't manage the enthusiasm necessary to re-impregnate his wife. This, of course, leads her to suspect that there might be another woman, or that he's not attracted to her anymore. All the kinds of mind-spiraling things you might hypothesize based on the situation, all of which would be better than what's actually happening, which is that this dude is fucking his dude best friend in a woman's body in a video game, and it's apparently so good that nothing else compares. Yeah, that's weird. So the question on every dude's mind as they watch this show is inevitably, is this gay? Is it gay to get off with another man who is playing as a chick in a video game? The show seems to think it's not gay, because in the end they meet up in real life and try and kiss to see if they feel anything, and they don't. So it's only in the game, which I think is the correct outcome, but I still think it's gay. This is a video game, but you're still you. You're inside these new bodies, and speaking in the voices of these characters, but your thoughts and expressions are still you. You don't become these people, you just become a passenger in the vehicle of their existence. When Lance and Roxy are talking to each other, it's not Lance and Roxy talking to each other, it's Anthony Mackie and Carl exploring their feelings, talking about their experiences as themselves, and themselves are both dudes, and both dudes are moaning and kissing and humping each other. Carl, as Roxy, even talks about what it feels like to have a female orgasm, something he could never feel before, like it's a foreign thing, because it's not his body. Ask yourself this: is it gay to jerk off over voice chat with another dude if that dude is using a female voice changer? I say yes, especially if you know it's a dude. And it's certainly gay for that dude, the guy who's pretending to be the woman in all these scenarios. He's still having sex with a dude, no bones about it. He is bisexual 100%, because in real life he also has sex with women. Which is why it makes no sense that during the scene where they kiss in real life, he wouldn't be turned on by that at all either. It's almost like he's cucking himself, which is a word I hate, but it applies here, because he's not interested in the sex for himself in real life, but he's interested in it for Roxy, the version of him that's her in the game. So this guy's all sorts of weird and it makes no sense. But so I say it's gay. That's my viewpoint. The other question that comes up is it cheating? Anthony Mackie has a wife. He is neglecting her for these late-night VR sessions where he achieves sexual climax and becomes too tired to have reality-based sex. I say reality-based sex because I don't want to say he's not having real sex, because in my view he is. He's having virtually real sex. All the feelings are there, all the actions, the movements, the sensations, the climax, the other person, who is a real person beneath the VR shell, it's perfectly simulated. And what's the difference between perfect simulation and reality, especially symbolically? Even if you wanted to argue that he's technically not cheating on her, symbolically and effectually he is. His activities have these real-world consequences. He is with another woman, technically a man, and he is achieving purposeful bodily climax inside of a body that another real person temporarily resides in. Imagine you have a sex doll. Are you cheating on your wife if you use a sex doll? More of you might say no, because the doll isn't a person in any way but likeness. Although your wife should probably still leave you because you're probably a creep if you have a human wife and still want a sex doll. But what if that sex doll had a real person's consciousness downloaded into it, who was reacting and responding in real time? That's dicier, isn't it? In the context of the show, Anthony Mackie breaks off the sessions with Carl because he feels guilty about his wife. He says it's wrong. Even if it's not cheating, it still feels like cheating, and that's enough. If you're doing something that feels like cheating, you should stop. Conversely, just because something doesn't feel like cheating doesn't mean it isn't. It depends on how the other person feels, your significant other. A good rule of thumb is that if you feel the need to hide an activity of yours from your SO, you don't deserve to have a rationale that excuses it. Be open or don't do it. The show ends with Anthony Mackie finally telling his wife what's going on, and it cuts to a scene a year later on his next birthday, where they have an arrangement. It's not shown how often this happens, but some days Anthony Mackie is allowed to have his striking Viper sex romp with Carl, and his wife is allowed to take off her wedding ring and go out for a night on the town. The fact that this is presented as an equal arrangement proves that the show has taken the position that Anthony's escapades are akin to having real-life sex with real-life people in your real-life bodies. So there you go. This episode was weird, both of Black Mirror and Stream of Consciousness. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Sunburned Albino, and I'll see you guys next time.